Your mind is the most powerful tool you possess. What you think, you become. What you believe, you achieve. This truth has been proven by great leaders, inventors, and dreamers throughout history. Napoleon Hill once said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." But why do some people dream small while others dare to think big? Today's story will show you the difference between a small mindset and a powerful one. It will teach you that the size of your thoughts determines the size of your life. So stay with us until the end, because this lesson could change everything. In a small village, there lived two brothers. The older brother was named Thomas. He was 28 years old and worked as a clerk in a local shop. Every day he did the same tasks, earned the same small salary, and went home tired. The younger brother was named James. He was 24 years old and worked in the same shop as his brother. They did the same work. They earned the same money, but there was one big difference between them. Thomas thought small. He believed his life would always stay the same. "This is just how life is," he would say. "People like us can't dream big." But James thought differently. Every night, he would read books about successful people. He studied their lives. He noticed something important. All of them started with nothing, but they all thought big. One evening, after work, Thomas found James reading again. "Why do you waste your time with these books?" Thomas asked. "We are just clerks. We will never be rich or successful like these people." James looked up at his brother. "Why not?" he asked. Thomas laughed. "Because we weren't born into wealthy families. We don't have money. We don't have connections. We have nothing." James closed his book and said, "That's where you're wrong, brother. We have something more powerful than money. We have our minds." These successful people didn't start with wealth. They started with a big thought. They believed they could achieve something great, and so they did. Thomas shook his head. "You're just dreaming. Dreams don't pay bills." James smiled. "Maybe, but small thinking doesn't change lives either." That night, James made a decision. He would prove that thinking big can change everything. The next morning, instead of going to work, he went to the village square. He had an idea. He noticed that many villagers struggled to carry water from the well to their homes. It was tiring work, especially for the elderly. "What if," James thought, "I could create a simple system to make this easier?" He didn't have money. He didn't have tools. But he had something more important. A big idea. He started by drawing plans. He talked to villagers. He asked a blacksmith for advice. Slowly, with borrowed tools and scraps of wood, he built a simple pulley system for the well. It worked. Suddenly, lifting water became twice as easy. Villagers were amazed. They started paying James a small fee to use his system. Within a month, he had saved more money than he earned in 6 months as a clerk. When Thomas heard about his brother's success, he couldn't believe it. He went to the village square to see for himself. There was James, collecting small payments from grateful villagers who used his pulley system. Thomas pulled him aside. "How did you do this?" he asked. "You had no money, no tools. How?" James smiled. "I told you, brother. I started with a big thought. I didn't focus on what I lacked. I focused on what I could create. You see problems. I see opportunities." Thomas was silent. For the first time, he began to understand. "So you're saying anyone can do this? Just by thinking big?" James nodded. "The size of your life is determined by the size of your thinking. If you think small, you stay small. If you think big, you become big. It's that simple." Thomas looked at the pulley, then at his brother. "I've been thinking small my whole life," he whispered. The next day, Thomas didn't go to work either. Instead, he began thinking, not about problems, not about limitations, but about possibilities. He walked through the village with new eyes. He noticed things he had never seen before. The bakery threw away old bread every evening. The carpenter had leftover wood scraps. The tailor had unused fabric pieces. Suddenly, an idea struck him. What if I collect these leftovers and create something useful? Within a week, Thomas had started a small business. He collected leftover bread and fed it to chickens, then sold the eggs. He gathered wood scraps and made small toys for children. He took fabric pieces and sewed simple bags. It wasn't much, but it was a start. And for the first time in his life, Thomas felt alive. He wasn't just surviving. He was creating. He was thinking big. 1 year passed. The brothers met again in the village square. But everything had changed. James now owned 3 pulley systems in 3 different villages. He had hired workers. His small idea had grown into a real business. Thomas had also changed. His leftover collection business had grown. He now employed 5 people. He sold handmade products in the town market. They sat together on a bench, looking at the village where they once worked as clerks. "Do you remember what you said to me a year ago?" James asked. Thomas smiled. "I said dreams don't pay bills." "And now?" Thomas looked at his brother. "Now I understand. Dreams don't pay bills. But big thoughts create opportunities. And opportunities pay bills very well." They both laughed. The shop where they once worked was still there. The clerk who replaced them was doing the same work they once did. "He thinks small," James said quietly. "Just like we used to," Thomas added. "Should we tell him what we learned?" James shook his head. "We can't teach someone to think big. They have to choose it themselves." As the sun set over the village, the 2 brothers stood up to leave. Thomas turned to James one last time. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" James asked. "For teaching me that my thoughts create my reality. For showing me that I'm not limited by my circumstances. I'm only limited by how I think." James smiled. "You taught yourself, brother. I just showed you the path. You chose to walk it." They shook hands and went their separate ways. But both carried the same truth in their hearts. The size of your success is determined by the size of your thinking. Think small and you will remain small. Think big and the world will expand before you. Your circumstances don't define you. Your thoughts do. So today, right now, make a choice. Will you think small or will you think big? If the story inspired you, please give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to The Bold Tales for more stories that challenge your thinking and expand your potential. Remember, think big and your life will become big. Thank you for watching. Until next time, believe in the power of your mind.